Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back. All right. Morning, morning. Alrighty. Where are we at? We're at break even. Starting the day break even. Looking pretty good on the growth side. Again, we basically have this constant confirmation right now of the growth trade doing well. Uh, the value side, again, we've seen we saw yesterday some take profit on value. Seeing a little bit, again, some further maybe take profit is not the word. Demand being taken away from value because of growth looking good and going into earnings, people trying to play earnings around growth. All of the value trades still looking very good, right? And so uh, that is the one thing that we can see though, is that this is not moving as quickly, again, due to the premise of what's going on. And so everything that we're getting right now for numbers is questioning whether or not this move here is substantiated. And earnings are, let's just be honest, are going to do that. That there's not much there in terms of surprises, and really what we're looking for, and what would be best for our long-term scenario are earnings that do nothing. Price reacts zilch, nothing, no reaction. Now I talked about Tesla's our first mega cap tech company to come out with earnings. Let's take a look where Tesla is to start. 3%, nothing. It has barely budged, right? 3% is nothing for Tesla, right? And that's exactly what we looked for confirmation. And so that's one start. Now, again, we have more coming out today. We have a couple more of the mega caps and then finishing on Wednesday. Uh, again, we're getting there, and let's see, right? This 3% here, I think, is very in line with our idea of having a long-term trade, and that earnings should not very every earning should be this should be basically the best quarter of earnings that we should see, and there's a lot of expectations for that. And it shouldn't really amount to anything because we've already made the trade out of this low, right? And all it should be doing is confirming that this is not incorrect and that this catching up to value is completely fine and it makes sense, right? Again, a lot of this comes back to yields and to this timing of inflation, which again it's not going to be until next year that we can actually make a change in terms of understanding of inflation. Yeah, the numbers are coming in now. The economy looks good, picking up. That doesn't have anything to do with the equity side, really. We've already made the trade for that. The economy's picking up. Everything's looking good. The question still is on sort of the travel side, whether or not, whether or not this is coming back right now, what timing. And so that's why we have an understanding this is a short term sort of volatile situation, and that earnings literally don't matter at all because you can have earnings right now, but what does that mean for next week or the month after? It's all about guidance right now, and you can't set guidance as one of these companies because you don't know. It has nothing to do with you. So there's nothing that an airline can do or cruise, right? Cruise ships are selling what? What are they doing? They just got boats floating around, right? So that's really the only area. Everything else is already picking up. All the numbers look great, right? And so again, it's really now on to growth, whether or not tech is getting going here. And uh, let's just be honest. We saw Apple spending yesterday came out and said they're spending $430 billion over the next 5 years. That's fucking insane, right? We talk about the government spending $1 trillion to stimulate the economy. Apple's like, yeah, we'll just spend $430 billion cash. No big deal. We got over 200 billion in cash right now. It's gonna cost us nothing, right? These kind of ideas, that's really what we're looking for, right? And what is that called? That's fucking inflation. It's inflation. If you're going to spend that much money, that's called inflation, right? You're going to be appreciating prices. So we're sticking on our trend, sticking with positions. Really, what we're looking for in terms of new positions are tickers in which they're not here, right? Where are they? And the question is when we look at some of these new tickers I'm posting and that are breaking out, the big question that you should be asking is why are they now just breaking out? What is it? What is the reason, right? Because if there's not, if I mean, I'll be honest with you, if there's not a ticker that doesn't have sort of this average or better, then there's really no point to be in it, right? If it's not this bullish, then why be in it? There must be something there. And so it does get more difficult. And I just want to put this into, perspective a little bit, because I think it's important when we have the market breaking out all-time highs, right? We're all riding that high right now. If you're making that long trade and putting it more long-term, then you're doing really well, right? You're right where you're supposed to be. Your risk on. We're capturing a big move in the equity market as it continues through all-time highs. Didn't just reach all-time high and then start to pull back. No, it continues. So if you're going to take a trade that's outside of that, and you're going to take something that's been consolidating during that time, you better have a pretty damn good reason to, right? And there better be a reason why, that it was slower and that the demand wasn't there, and now it's going to make a move to catch up, right? And so when I'm sort of crafting these charts, I need to have answers to those questions. And so it's important to realize that it's one thing for it's one thing for a chart to have a breakout, but it's another thing for it to actually make the move when the market's already an all-time high. If the market's already up there and now it starts to pull back because it's just fucking rallying like crazy, what happens to these charts? Are they, there's certainly questions that need to be answered. And so to keep those ideas in mind, right? Keep those ideas in mind. When you see things like this here, I think this was probably one of the prettier looking charts that I posted last night. This answers questions in two different ways, right? You have a trend that we're looking at in terms of the entire market. Perfect. We want to be riding a trend here. Okay, why was this not already broken out when the market was breaking out? Well, it actually did. It actually did break out over here. There was just an event that happened in terms of gapping it down, gap down 10%. So it actually did break out with the market, right? And then it entered a new consolidation. Now, are there going to be enough points here to catch up to where the market is now, which is basically catching back up to where price is here, based on where trend lines and everything are getting activated and how the price is moving? This is one of those candidates in terms of a chart that it actually offers every single thing that, every one of those check boxes you need to actually make a trade that's consistent with what we're doing, but also adding, sort of generating alpha for you based on its own velocity, right? And these are, again, that's where the only time we're buying anything now is if there's a pullback. So you need some fucking blood, right? You need red days. You're actually going to need red days. And that's where, when we talk about the market now, it's important that we do get healthy price action. That's where you get this price action like last week. You need this sort of price action to get this ability to continue to get bid. For individual tickers, it's much more important instead of just this trend here. Individual tickers, we need sort of that movement to generate actual opportunities. This is probably the best example. Are all these tickers that made this move here, right? We had the breakout out of the low, and so here's the old ARC chart, right? The old ARC chart here, and all the charts looked like this, right? We traded from this point up to the trend line, right? This trend line that was almost every single chart looked the same. And we made this trade, but then it pulled back, right? All of these charts pulled back. I mean, a lot of the growth charts pulled back, right? And then this is the next opportunity here, right? Now, they're all a little different. All of them are a little different. SQ is the other chart that, for instance, we're looking at. We had this whole trade here, right? Up to the trend line, took profit, and now here's our new opportunity, right? And I've already sort of been dicking around over here, but this is what we're looking for. This checks the box in terms of, okay, well, why isn't it with the market at all-time high now? Well, it's because it was already in its breakout and it put a lot of points on, and it needed to pull back to generate a new opportunity, right? And so these sort of trades are fine. And again, sometimes it can change a bit, and this is probably a good example of how we're looking more in the short term, right? For those previous trades coming out of March 25th, right, when we took all those trades, we were looking very short term. And so this is where you can see the old trend line I had here, right? The old inbound trend line. This was a much shorter time frame. It was about, it was still quite long considering the time. It was a 30-day chart for 86-day trend. Look at this chart that I just posted, right? We're in what kind of mood right now? We're in a long-term mood. So we're looking at this entire trend that price has been on for this entire sort of move since COVID, right? That's 200 days, right? And so we're really looking more long term. That's where by stepping back and having this bias that we have now, it can open up different ideas and actually put us on a better track in terms of what we're looking for to come out of here. It's going to be different on every chart, but it's important to maybe get the in between of these two charts. So I just want to make an example. So we have the previous breakout we were looking for. Here's the targets there, right? Now this is still certainly in the realm is that if price gets back up into this channel, then yeah, you're going to reach up into here. But it's important to see sort of the time frame we're on and what exactly that may look like. It may be, a little bit more of an average here, right? Price does not need to instantly climb back up, and it's not going to because of this sort of pullback that happened here. Price was on that sort of tangent here, right? But it's important to realize how price changes and how the time frame is going to change. You're not losing value, you're losing time, right? You're going to gain the value at a different time, and you have to just realize what changes there. Whatever the pullback is, you're not losing value. You are losing time. That's it. And so then it's just a question of, okay, so where? Again, that's sort of the lie of the market, is that the market's going to be losing value and that the price is going to go down. Not over time. In the moment, sure, but that's just a loss of time. It's not a loss of the actual price. And so it's that idea that, oh no, it could actually come all the way down here. It could, that's not how these things work, right? At least not in the market in general. The S&P, we're never going to be like, well, what if the S&P goes to 250 next week or, in a year, That's never a question, because that's literally it. It would be impossible. Why? Why would it be impossible for the S&P to lose 50% of its value right now? Because that would mean that people have to exit the market. It has nothing to do with value. People would have to actually leave. Are pensions going to all of a sudden leave the equity market? We're all going to just get up and say, you know what? Fuck the equity market. I'm going to go buy some NFTs with all this money. How does the NFT market exist if the equity market is no longer, it's just in shambles, right? These things are all it's not ever going to happen. It's just going to keep trending, right? And it's just this idea of timing. That's it, right? So our timing right now is we're expecting this trend to be a lot more long term. That's the only difference. The difference over here is that it's short term, and that's because we have volatility. And so we don't want to sit in a position and then get fucked by this whole move, right? And so we patiently wait for a breakout and we take those chances. And we buy on lows and try to buy on fear, right? Right now, we're not buying on fear, are we? There's no fear to buy here. You can't go take a 1 month option here and feel good about it. Some of you will, and then you're going to realize all of a sudden that was a dumb decision, right? Because you're going to go buy May monthlies right here. You're going to go buy May monthlies, and then in a week from now, you're going to be like, why haven't I gained anything right now? The price is up. Why haven't I made any money? And you're going to be like, huh. And then you're going to go look at the 3 month out options. You're going to look at like June or something. Not that June's that much further, but 1 month out. And you're like, huh, those people that traded June's made more money than I did on May's. How does that make sense? And then you're going to be like, oh yeah, I was told that. Yeah, that's how it's going to work right now, right? And so that's why we're not trading that way, right? That was this moment. We're in a different moment here. This is gonna be some chill trading for the next year, even through earnings, right? Even through earnings. Really, again, I think what we're looking for is we're really looking through the mega caps, seeing what they're doing. I think in terms of these mattering in terms of earnings, I would say again next year, and so we're looking for guidance for next year. My big question is whether or not we're getting the all-time high sort of in the next week or two, or what exactly that is. Are we going to continue this trend that we were on right now, or is it going to be sort of next week or something? I'm already in these positions. Most of us are just sitting in these positions anyway, but I would still want to be asking myself that every day, and so that's really the only thing that changes. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. And if you looked at the Facebook chart I posted, I'm basically predicting that it happens here in the next 2 weeks. That same move that we were on happens the next 2 weeks as we get through the earnings. And no matter what happens with the earnings, we're going to be maneuvering around that in the next 2 weeks or so. So I have an expectation for that to come through. Facebook is obviously already sort of there, already gotten to all-time high, and so it doesn't really change that. But again, they're all sort of on different schedules. The Amazon chart is still, it's still right there at the cusp, and so it's pretty close, but it still needs to get out of that, and it probably offers a lot more points on something like Amazon above that level if you compare it to something like Google, where Google was already at all-time highs. And when it was able to breach through that high, it put the points on very quickly. The same thing is probably going to happen on something like Amazon. Again, just due to the way the options work, those options are so expensive. No one, it's not so much that the quantity of options or calls drives the price to the upside, right? As much as something like Apple. Apple is very dependent on how many options are out there, and the volatility is very dependent on that. And so the momentum gets going once those calls pick up. Google and Amazon are really just kind of slugs. They just operate on different schedules due to the way the pricing works. That has nothing to do with, oh, they need to do a split or some shit. Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. So, we'll see. We'll see. Right. What I'm interested to see as well is how our bank move continues. Our energy move continues with value. This is still up in the air in terms of, how much of the portfolio should be in growth, how much should be in value. These are still doing very well. Again, I took the energy trade from the low over here. The bank trade's been consistent, the same. Small caps have really picked up. Those small cap banks, again, reacting to the major bank earnings. And that was the biggest thing. And we continue to see those move from really the low. As soon as the bank earnings came in, they start to move, right? And so those ideas are really going to be dependent on what this Fed discussion is. Again, tomorrow is FOMC. Nothing's going to fucking happen. But we are looking for when does sort of the whole idea of buying 120 billion a month, when does that slow down? And so we are looking for that. Interest rates are obviously a different story, going to be a little while, but we're definitely looking for that in terms of banks, because that will change the timing on banks. And again, we don't know, so we don't react. We're not going to react until we see the price change, right? And this is again where something that needs to be said too often is that, guys, it doesn't fucking matter what you think about earnings, okay? And you think that somebody's going to sell more iPhones, or going to sell more vacuums, or more refrigerators, or, oh, they're all sold out, and now they're presenting a new product. Or these ideas, whatever you think you know, or what you've read and that you think you have an edge on, means nothing. It means zero. It probably hurts you that you now think you know something more, right? It's important to realize that whatever story you're trying to create through what you read has nothing to do with how you're going to trade it. Has nothing to do with it. Nothing at all, right? Earnings are important to the fundamentals of the company itself and what their value is. But it has nothing to do with how people are going to trade it. And it's already been priced in some way, and it's going to continue to be priced, right? Not to say that, oh, they blow earnings out of the water and then it gaps down, or yeah, those things will happen, right? Those things will happen. That's probably because we've already priced it, right? And overpriced it, right? And so I think it still happens to everybody, and it's really important to realize that it does not matter what you think you know about these things, right? And you're never going to, it's like this Tesla thing here. Okay, you think Tesla's going to blow earnings out of the water, right? Well, this earnings has nothing to do with the price in this time. Do you think that price is going to be different in a week from now because of the earnings? No, that's not how it works. It's the whole fucking thing. This whole thing, right, is made up because of that, not because of the price right around here. Again, when people make trades, we're not basing it. You're not basing it off of like what next week's price is going to be. That if someone thinks that Tesla's earnings are good and that their fundamentals are good, they're not just randomly entering the trade 2 days before earnings or after earnings come out. They've already been in the trade most likely. And again, we're talking about a very big difference in time, right? We're talking about institutions will hold for years, right? And so just like a company, when they make decisions, they're not making the decision for literally fucking tomorrow. They're making a decision for like 5 years from now or something, right? And it's important to realize that it's the same thing with earnings. We're not talking about right now. That's way in the fucking past. For instance, Tesla, it's about from years from now. The value, it doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah, it doesn't. Ford made I put the thing in that you can still see it in chat right now. Ford made 33 billion last quarter. Tesla just made 438 and 110 million of that was from fucking trading Bitcoin, right? They sold Bitcoin and made 110 million dollars. So the other 300 million was just from selling cars. It's not even close, right? They don't even sell fucking cars, right? Basically. So does there anything here that fucking matters? No, of course not. We're talking about like 10 years from now. 10 years from now. And so it literally doesn't matter here. The only thing that did matter, this is the change and how we can say that we can trade around things, is on something that you're getting confirmation, right? And for banks, what we wanted for confirmation is that they were continuing to trade like fucking monsters, right? Why was price going up this whole time with banks? Because we know they're trading very well. And then earnings comes and what happens? Oh, we get confirmation they're still making a lot of money trading, so the price keeps going, right? That's because the price is already, that's where like I joked because somebody said, are we buying banks now? And it's like, we've been buying banks for a year, right? And again, earnings is just confirming that, right? And so again, it's the same with every single ticker. Remember, it's the same with every ticker. We're already trading months and months before the next earnings, and it's about the change between earnings. Why do we call it value and growth? What's the difference between a value company and a growth company? The only difference is that a growth company, you want to see growth in their earnings, right? And a value company will basically have the same earnings every fucking quarter. Those companies, they never change. They just have the same, they make money consistently every single quarter, and they never grow. Ford is a good example of a company that's never going to grow. It's just going to stay making $33 billion a fucking quarter. That's a lot of money. It's not going to make more than that. It's going to produce the same amount every time because they've reached an equilibrium, right? And that's where the difference with Tesla is that Tesla, we need to see growth happening, and there's an idea of an exponential growth, right? That's where when you start to get to mega caps continue to get bloated and bloated and bloated, and that's how we can call it a growth company. And when we look at some of these new fintech companies or new tech companies or something like a bio, right? We look for these to actually grow, and the earnings is, again, just an idea. It's almost never about the number, and that's where when you look at those, it doesn't matter what you think because the price is not trading in that moment, right? It's trading on a growth idea, and so if you're starting to go fundamental on growth, then you've already lost it, right? You've actually already lost it. When you talk about value investing with fundamentals, they're not talking about growth companies. You're talking about real deep fucking value, right? Literally. It's about the value if a value company changes. That's it. Growth companies, you're never going to be able to do any timing with fundamentals, right? It's never going to happen. It's only an idea at that point. Oh, I think it'll grow in the future. Okay, well then buy it and hold it, right? It's about an idea. Trades are never going to be made on that timing, right? Never made on that timing. And that's, again, that's where it can get a little messy, right? It gets a little messy when you get something like Netflix, right? What is Netflix about? They added how many? They added like 2.5 million subscribers this quarter, and then the price gapped down 7.5%, right? Does it have anything to do with any of that? Probably not, right? It probably doesn't. It probably has to do with like from 10 years from now, people are realizing that they're not going to be able to add 2.5 million people a month or a quarter, right? And that's what it has to do with. It has nothing to do with right now. It's just an idea, right? And that's how we can see the difference. How do we trade the Netflix chart? Every time it gets into this low, what do? We buy it on the support here. So does it have anything to do with the earnings here? It hasn't had anything to do with the earnings, even though it gaps up or gaps down every single time. But is it random? Yeah, it's almost always random on which way the earnings is going to go. Is there any way to predict before? Yeah, just whether the price is at the low or the high. If the price is at support when earnings happens, what happens? It gaps up to the high. If it's at the high when the earnings happen, what happens? It gaps down to the low. Why? Because price trades between the levels. Why? Because no matter what you're making the trade for, if you're going to buy it, you're not going to buy it at a high. You're going to buy it at a low. If you're going to sell it, are you going to sell it the low or the high? It's just consistent, right? No matter what your reason is for making a trade, you're going to still try to make the best possible trade. And if it's because you want to buy it for fundamentals, you're not going to wait for a fundamental moment. You're going to wait for the price to be fucking low because you don't want to buy it at a high, right? Because that's how we trade. And that's, again, how you can operate around earnings and say, okay, the earnings doesn't fucking matter. What's happening here? Well, it's at the high. Earnings happens and coming down to the low. What are we doing here? We're buying it at the low. And we've got about 3.5 months until the next earnings. So it doesn't really matter, right? It has nothing. Is the price here trading now because of the earnings? Do people care now? Probably not. Probably not. They just see that it's low and they're going to trade it to the high, right? How often do we forget about earnings? We forget about it like the next day. We almost forget about it the next day. When we're trading Tesla, I'm in the Tesla position, right? Do I care about the earnings or do I care about the price where it is right now? Well, I care about the price because it's going to be down like 3%, right? That's it. I just care about the location, right? And I care about my timing with options. Keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. Because I think we're definitely due for some basically no price action for mega caps, and it definitely probably going to feel a little weird. And that's what we're looking for. And that's why we're in these longer trades, because we don't need exposure to the short term, right? Which would be technically earnings right now. In terms of what we're looking for from the start here today, it's a question of we're going to be able to tell if there's low volume to start today, then we can sum it up to people are waiting for FOMC tomorrow, and that may mean if there is waiting today and we have a very sort of not so much like yesterday. Yesterday was a very straightforward sideways trading day, right? We just finished completely flat and didn't do anything, but there was a lot of price action still on other tickers. If we have a day here that it's actually lower volume than yesterday, which it technically should be anyway, but it's lower volume and we don't get much action at all, then it could be some waiting because of FOMC, which does happen. But it's usually when there's something that's important, we actually care about what's going to be said, and there might be a change. And so everyone sort of waits to see the day before, like literally from the day before, because obviously we don't stop trading for anything. So we'll watch that and see if there's any sort of maybe waiting. The other thing we'll watch is yields today. I think the yields are definitely going to signal to us whether people actually think we can maybe get some breadcrumbs on the plan for sort of scaling back the bond buying, right? And if there is, then it's really just more confirmation for the growth trade. So, we're really on the growth trade right now. That's why even through growth consolidating and us trading value so much, I still kept tech as my tier 1 sort of trade, right, for the year. Healthcare being tier 2, but we'll see here. Again, we're in a very slow mode, so some of you that want all those day trades and everything, again, this is not your moment. You're going to need to wait. It's going to be this is our paint drying. This is where you get to kick back, sit in your fucking sun chair with your flip-flops on, feet up, drinking a beer. Not in the morning, guys. Not in the morning. No beer in the morning. Coffee, tea. Some of you I like my coffee black. I know some of you psychos got like stevia and shit like that. Fucking fake ass sugar and fucking psychos. God. I say that because I was out last night and I was eating dinner and I ordered a coffee And this lady that was sitting next to me ordered a tea. And then she was like, "Can I get some stevia?" And I was like, fucking psycho. Wasn't like, "Can I get a lemon or honey or something?" She was like, "No, let me get a stevia." Like, damn, dude, that's brutal. Get that woman her stevia. Oh, I love coffee, black. Black coffee's the only way, you know? It breaks my fast. Again, I fast all day, so coffee with milk or sugar would break my fast, but black coffee doesn't break my fast. Only way. Okay, so far, we're gonna talk about the lows probably more than highs, because again, most of the highs are just continuations of what we expect. RC continues. Okay, let's definitely go through some of these. Okay, we talked a lot. We talked a lot about some of the bigger moves that happened yesterday, catching back up into the trend. RC was definitely one of them. Again, the oil trade. Okay, OPEC meetings are tomorrow as well, early in the morning. Again, the oil trade and energy trade is very fucking straightforward. So there is no surprise on that. It's global economics. Global economics don't have surprises. You're not all of a sudden going to show up to the gas station and it's going to go from $2.50 to fucking $7. You're not going to be like, "Oh, what happened? I wonder what happened." That's never going to happen, right? So it's usually pretty fucking straightforward when these things do happen, right? VXRT, this chart is absolutely insane. So again, those of you that looked at some of the charts I posted, yeah, good luck on that one. Don't ask stupid questions. AR going again, oil, gas. Some of these are very straightforward, so please realize that there's no. Okay, let's say it again today because some of you weren't in chat yesterday. Right now, the whole market's going to the upside and trading through all-time highs. It doesn't really matter what stocks you pick to buy. It doesn't. All of them are going up. So you could basically buy any of them and it'll go up. So just you can buy anything. And it's also important to realize that charts I post, just because they're up, like the last 300 charts I posted are all up, right? And they've been pretty consistent. Just about every ticker in the market's been pretty consistent to the upside, right? So it's important to realize that, and I do this exercise with myself a lot where it's like, wow, this was a really nice chart and it really made a nice move here. It's important to realize that everything is up, so there's nothing special about it. That's where you need to find something that is special, and that you need to find something that does have alpha that is different, right? And so this is where you can feel like you're doing really well, but then it's like, well, I'm an idiot because everyone's doing well, right? Or at least the whole market's going up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's the in-between moves that actually mean something. And something like Myrna here. I think this is a good example of, okay, the whole market's going up, but what's special about this trade here? So we took this trade and held it through 2 days of almost 8% pullback. And now it's up almost, look at where it is up from here, right? Minus 5.5, minus 3.5. And now look at how it's moved, and we can, right? This in-between move of understanding to hold this trade. That's where you can say, okay, that was a good decision that other people probably didn't make. And that you can't use the market as, you can't just say the market's up so you can hold that trade, right? Even though there was a lot of the bias here. Something like this is a good example where you can say, okay, that's a little bit more special. There's something that was done correctly here. Other charts that are just fucking up, right? There's nothing special. That's why I hate the Apple trade. That's why I hate making this trade. So I'm like, everyone in the world is making the same fucking trade here, right? Even me holding it over here, everyone's doing the same thing because no one's exiting it, right? But like that Myrna trade, I can be like, okay, that's a pretty good idea. That was pretty good, right? And we have those, right? We have those, but just to put it into perspective, because it's very easy to, like, I was looking through all my charts, and it's very easy to be like, oh wow, that's wow. How did I get that one? Be like, everyone got that one. Everybody got that one. So keep in mind that, again, not to take away from like levels and trend lines and being able to trade around that, but how we're trading right now, we're not specifically doing that. We're just sort of buying shit and then holding it, right? We don't really so much care about the levels all the time. So, you know, keep that in mind. I know I draw some pretty nice lines every now and then. The reason why most of them have been doing well is because of the market, not because of what I think. So that's about as humble as I will get. Because calling me humble is honestly just disrespectful. It's honestly just fucking disrespectful. Yeah, UPS got the okay. Did anyone see the earnings on this? Did anyone see what they put for expected? Fucking stupid. I don't know if anyone saw that. I would go take a look at it. It's I talk about this a lot when it comes to earnings and how it it's just it's not a fraud, but it's just a crapshoot, and it's just kind of baloney anyway, because it's the banks themselves, they're analysts that are quite literally predicting these things, and it just depends on if you own it or not. Did anyone go look? Go look at how low they put the expected numbers. The numbers are so low comparatively. It's not even funny. Like, it's not even funny. So yeah, it completely beat earnings. Like, it blew the earnings out of the water because they put such low expectations. Why would you put low expectations? The economy's opening up. So yeah, that's a funny one. That's definitely a funny one. Again, we're very bullish on transportation. So uh let's just be honest, we're very bullish on this side, right? BLDR. We'll see what that next level does. 1623. Okay. I don't know where my DraftKings lines are. Okay, nice chill start to the day. I'm really watching for this value side and some of the lower numbers. So if we come to the low side, let's take a look. Something at the GE, like things like this, right? These kind of moves that, okay, obviously this is it's a very bullish, bearish candle. But what I'm interested in is what is this move coming into here, right? Again, something like BA, right? This is easy because you don't have to do anything. But this is hard. What do you want to do here? I talked about this already, that this is the harder of the charts because it hasn't made the move. It's just trading flat. And the question is, how do you sit in this trade? Even with a long term, you can't hold through a lot of this. And how do you buy back in? And that's where it changes from buying at the next open to just buying after this candle. Now, this is earnings related, and so you just have to buy this candle, for instance. So what am I doing here? I'm just buying here because if you wait until tomorrow, now you're doing the same. You're doing this thing where now you're trying to time it, and you're not going to time something that you're trying to long-term trade. So this is, again, this creates some problems when we have trades like this. And what are you going to do, right? Like, we're bullish on this side, and I did this yesterday, right? I took LMT yesterday. Now I'm just break even today, but who knows if this is actually pivoting here? But what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sit here and what am I gonna wait and go try to capture momentum? If I'm just trying to take a trade for the next few months, I'm just gonna take the trade, right? I'm just gonna take the trade and sit in it. So we have a few examples of charts like that, but we'll see. Semiconductors, we continue here today. We shouldn't. I guess we're waiting to. Again, I took the INTC on on this low. We're still break even here. Again, another good example is that this sort of thing, like obviously you're no longer in this position here, but as soon as this gap's down, you just take the trade, right? You're down at this level. This timing, what we're looking for really is how is this market picking back up? We're doing well on half of our trades, and then UMC is obviously just fucking blown out of the water, right? So we did very well in this trade. This is where the average was fine, right? I talked about the average is fine to take here. And again, these trades that took the pullback, it's a question of how does it get back up to here, right? You can average it. I'm not going to post a chart for every single one of these, but again, I posted some of the charts last night that should answer the questions of these breakout charts that then pulled back. The move here is just a gradient between catching back up to here and being slower this way and taking more time, right? The same angle, it's just going to take more time, right? That's all you do. That's all you're looking at, right? Could just be more time. Here, I'll put it from like the actual low point here because it's the same price, right? It's literally the same price from the low. It's just the time, right? It's going to take more time. That's all. If it's going to, right? Sometimes you're actually going to catch back up in sort of that Facebook flag looking way, right? Not that we can see the future, but we're just trying to plan. Okay. Nice start on something stupid like this, right? What we like. In terms of, again, our one of the biggest questions we have is on this clean energy side of things. It's probably the hardest trade to figure out. Probably the hardest trade in terms of timing. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. This is a good example. You know, well, I mean, I just talked about it from over the weekend. Uh, these trades now continuing, right? But they broke out a month later, right? It's almost a month after the market already started trading to the upside. Right? And so the late timing and the continuation here of consolidating, you know, it really does ask a lot. It begs to be asked the question of, is this going to actually make a move then? Is it going to be able to, we're coming into earnings and then the earnings are not going to boost it. There's none of the earnings are going to give it a boost because none of them are actually fucking doing anything, right? It's these companies have no, it's all about growth. And so it's just about whether or not they can sort of, again, they all made big moves, and so it's whether the company can actually validate why the fuck it's up here because they put such big moves on, right? It's not an easy thing to do. That's where the confirmation of earnings matters. Cause like, okay, we don't care about the numbers, but you're gonna have to fucking lie to us and convince us. The China trade, we continue. So we're continuing on the trend. We haven't seen a big move yet, so just kind of sitting here. Sitting here. Obviously, I took the Baba trade. This is sort of the larger of the Chinese trades. I'm in just about all of them. The JD trade's the one that's very much behind and hasn't really done anything, so I'm not in this trade yet still. Just reposted the chart. Obviously, this thing continued down. This trade is still, again, I think ready for some fucking fireworks because I don't know if this matters. The earnings side, this isn't so much matter, but we are getting more and more information about what's going on in the next couple weeks, right? So whether regulations really come off or, again, we've already got China economic numbers and they're fucking insane. So it's not even close. Like they're just outpacing everybody. So there's almost no reason for these prices to be down here, but this is a regulation standpoint. And no, it doesn't matter if Jack Ma sells all his shares. It won't do anything to the price. Well, looks like we're buying a lot lower here, huh? This should be interesting. Well, it looks like we're going to be able to get a fear buy on GE here, which is considerably better than this bullshit that we had over here. Now, if we get the same entry as over here, that does change things. So let me do this. Fuck. Let's see. This is a bit of a lie here. It's a bit of a lie, but the problem is that this is coming down. This is down like almost, it's over 4.5% now, but the longer term contracts are not fucking moving. So it's a bit of a lie. If it can come down, if it came down a little bit more, it might push some of these people out of these contracts. This could be a nice one. We'll see. I don't want to pay too much attention to that. I'm just going to put orders in and see if we get filled on these. We'll see how much fear people have here. The problem is no one has exiting long positions, right? Try to just pick up a couple cheaper, but times like this, it's sometimes you can go take a shorter term trade on this and just bet on a bounce back the next day, like a 5% next day here, and just throw some of that on there just in case, because you're not getting a discount for longer term. So keep that in mind on something like that. Again, the market's propping all this shit up. So none of these, this is where it doesn't even matter that something like that comes down. The market just props it up anyway. Pain in the ass. This is interesting here. I'm very, very curious about what exactly this move turns into, because we just took this trade here again. Still in the same, I'm still in the trade, but if this comes, I mean, again, this is where when you're in the long-term positions, no one sells them. They just wait to get stopped out. And so the underlying can be down, but no one's just doing anything with the contract, so the contracts stay the same price. This is a good example where I have to actually look at the underlying chart to see that the price has actually changed. Because looking at your portfolio does not show it. These can be a little difficult, and you just hold through. Again, right now, the mentality should just be, stop me out then. I'm not fucking selling, stop me out. Because, again, you can't time it. That's the whole point of taking a long-term trade. If it's fucking 2 days later, I'm not going to sell it. You're going to have to stop me out, right? Been very good across. Coming back here on the Dow. Let me take a look. Let's take a look on the Dow side. It's just, again, just our earnings moves. So definitely sticking with our trend here. Again, we're watching PG pretty closely to see what's happening there. Okay, this is fun. Come on, travel. Retail stores, again, I talked about that move yesterday, and I just recently posted all of those, the retail ideas here. Again, nothing really changed from yesterday. It still all was in the trend, but some of them definitely presented. It's you understand that the pullback's an opportunity, but you're sort of buying in the middle of nowhere, and that's where you're buying on the idea. You're not buying on a. Again, you're buying the idea, and you're being given a gift if you're down. The price is down, so that's sort of an example. Somewhat like obviously the average here is a lot better, but not straightforward. Right, when you look at this, it's like, I mean, it doesn't look very good. So you're buying on a trend. That's it. If you take those trades. Again, this is the problem with taking new trades. They just don't look as good as the rest of our trades. So decent enough. We're not getting much intraday movement at all. Anything that moved from earnings not moving. It's just to be expected. Yeah, today we have Google, Microsoft, and Visa. Do you think this move was just predating what's going to happen in earnings? Probably. Probably like it usually does. Yeah, gonna go down this time, right? Probably. Probably gonna go down. Probably. I wonder. Think about it. Just think about it. What's gonna happen? Again, these moves here, this is where you've got this move, and now we've got this sort of, whatever you want to call it, hanging out. And it's a lot of hanging out. We're just looking for the confirmation to continue. Where are we on? Dollar's hanging out as well. Waiting for tomorrow. Doesn't look like, so no one's hedging anything. So no one cares, obviously. Yields are up a little bit. Yields are up a little bit. See where Bitcoin is now. Still in the same spot. Again, I'm still waiting. Still waiting. It looks very much, again, it looks very much like our move coming out of a low. Very similar. Yeah, IGT's moving. Can we? The travel side is very, very interesting. They're all on different schedules, which does make it, it makes it tradable. Certainly makes it tradable. Certainly makes it tradable. Travel is in, this is fucking casinos, so. Connected. I mean, these are in great spots. Let's be honest. That's the thing that, like, when you take a trade like this down here, when we took this trade on CCL, right? It's really not that hard to go take this trade. Like, it doesn't matter if the price goes down the next day. You get out of the trade. It's just, it's visually, it looks like a nice spot to buy, right? And so when we take these trades, again, it's not like, wow, what great timing. It's just visually nice and a good spot. And that's the thing with travel. It's like travel has this short-term volatility, but we continue to take these trades when the price fall takes these really big downturns, that's like this fear selling. And we buy these every time because it's I mean, it just looks right. And again, we've done this on all of these, on every single one of these every single time. And so again, all these trades coming out here, this is a good example of, okay, the whole market's trading to all-time highs. If I'm going to take a trade that's not there, then I need to be checking some boxes. These are coming off lows. We can at least trade it to the high, right? And you know it's going to move because all of these charts, they're just swingers. They just fucking swing back and forth like crazy. So you're going to get something out of these, I would say. You're going to get something. That's sort of like, I guess, the retail trades as well. That's sort of my plan on some of these trades. That's kind of a good example of, you get this move yesterday. The idea is bullish though. Look at this fucking X marks the spot, boys. 37.25. Oofa. I did buy me some new shoes at Foot Locker. Yeah, Penn. The fall from grace. We're very close to. You're gonna get a wedge chart from me. Very close. Not that I need. Again, I've already posted that I'm bullish on this. This downturn. Um, whatever we want to call it, it's a consolidation of this fucking massive move. That's for sure. So it shouldn't change the value. It's gonna change the time for sure, though. Definitely changing the time. Again, I don't know where my lines are, but get the same wedge here, right? Same wedge idea. Where you get that nice slanted W, and then you just look for your trend lines. You look for them. Bidu, yeah. We're waiting to see what we're getting here. We're gonna confirm this or not. STC continues from that nice move yesterday. Etsy coming back from some of that low here. This is something that doesn't make so much sense to me. That move we got yesterday. This sort of thing here, we have this on some charts. We actually have this on some charts where I posted one like SQ last night, where you get this right over here at the tail end. You get this kind of this price action that ends up turning it into a longer consolidation, but it comes out of that consolidation. It actually is that price movement that allows it to actually become a breakout. And it's the tightening. It's the tightening in that back and forth sort of price action. So this sort of move right here is very much the same sort of thing here. So when you see something like this, you're basically, so I have this pattern, right? Continuation triangle. You're basically just propping this bad boy up this way and throwing this out, right? And this becomes a bit more of like a diamond, right? I do like the price action like this, and I do like the creation of a stronger trend through here. This has been happening a lot. Has been happening a lot. And keep an eye on that. I posted like zoom on our short term bearish pattern, but these trends like this, I think it might be more important to think about this trend in here. And this is sort of this was like the third in line of charts that we're looking for are these COVID winners that are consolidating down here. This price action is ridiculous. Look at this shit. This is again, if this is just a ton of support. And so if you can take a trade here and just hold it for I don't know how long it's going to take. Might take a month. If you can just get this trade for the fucking move that's going to come through here, I mean, oh god. Again, it's just sort of trading back and forth, so the timing's never great, but if you can get it down and yikes. Some of those. One of those trades. The fuck is going on? Let's take a look. Microsoft and Google taking some profit before earnings, it looks. That's what it looks like. Facebook. Oh god, guys. Big loss is coming in right there. Be careful. Really got me on my edge of my seat over here. Don't windbreaker me in the chat, boys. Completely technical here. Trust me. Look at this. Can't you see it? You can't you see it? Look at it. See? Let me zoom out a little bit more. You'll be able to see it better. See? Can't you see it? Pretty clear. Pretty clear triangle down there, right? You gotta really get in there and you gotta get deep in there to see this one. Yeah, see it? Questionable. Questionable. Just a 50% gain, guys. 50% in 1 month. You already got 20% today. You're halfway there. See? You're halfway there. No big deal. Good job, guys. Doing a good job. This den trade's been very nice so far. I actually wasn't sure what I wanted to do on this. I was thinking of maybe waiting. I was gonna put like a you can kind of make an argument for a ascending triangle here, but that would completely take away from what's like actually happening here. So using this idea, I think, helps a little bit more to clear up what we're looking at. This trade was already very nice, but the consolidation that got over here, I think this makes a little bit more sense. Instead of trying to throw a trend line through here and then act like this is this move here. These are two separate things. You would have to throw a triangle on this whole fucking thing. This is not one thing. And so these are two separate patterns, two separate moves, price reacting differently. So this is where you can't go say that this is a trend here. You can't just go like act like this is all one thing, because it's not. This came down for a completely separate reason, and that's where differentiating the two moves is important, because then you can actually make a move from here, and you can get this move and you feel okay buying here, right? It's a difference being able to buy here after this move if you weren't already in, for instance, right? Being able to buy here. You wouldn't be able to buy here if you act like this is all one fucking thing, because that would take a long time. It would take too long. This would be like a 60-day pattern, and that would mean like 60 days to go put the same amount of points on. And so I wouldn't ever buy it right here. So the difference between these two ideas is important to see how you can get a breakout here, another consolidation, and another breakout, not just one big consolidation, which sometimes that is what happens, right? But that ability to see sort of the tempo there is important. Bieleman is through the trend line here. Now this is going to be a lot of fun, because we haven't really gotten a breakout here in a while, and this is a good example of a candle. Once you get back into that trend, there's been a lot of consolidating here, like this candle here, right? That's a big. These are 9% candles, so that could definitely be good. I am pretty impressed by some of these. I've been talking about this for a few months now, that every time I track a breakout, the next day it continues fucking putting points on. Continuing to break out, so that day that we're actually looking to buy it, we're just fucking in, and we're already making points on it. I'm pretty happy with that. That's 2 years ago, that was not the case. It would take like a week to go fucking enter something. Now it's next morning. Still curious about our buybacks. Uh, Again, guys, don't hit me with them windbreakers. I'm telling you. Don't hit me with them windbreakers. Keep this one on the down low. And 30% day so far. See what we can get over here. The fuck is that? Earnings don't matter. Seen really the same take profit candle across the board. Nice. Makes it a lot easier to manage these trades when every single candle looks the same. This kind of candle like this. That take profit off of yesterday's moves. So much easier. They all are the same. Don't have to touch it. Don't have to touch it. Pushing. See what happens with our solar play. And the timing is terrible. It's impossible to know. We just sit. Curious. Ooh. It was just basically just Google. Somebody was taking a Google position. Rad, yep, our retailers. Basically, you can I can see it from the list. Most of them are retail stores, so that's why. I mean, a little unfortunate that post all those charts and then the next day they're down quite a bit, but that's actually again the opportunity. But it does make it does make it a little harder when it's not like some of them were down 2%. They were down like 5% yesterday. So buying them at that low was not. You had to wait till today, and a lot of these opened a lot higher. Not specifically Rad. Rad was pretty. This is just straightforward trend that we looked at, but some of these again, these were not. You have a very hard time buying that right there, and you have a hard time holding that if you already entered. So then you have to buy it today, and it feels very awkward. This chart still looks really silly now because it makes a lot of sense to buy it here today, but it doesn't really add up very well. Get rejected, now you're going back. We do it again. That's like all these, right? Everything on the consumer side. We talked about consumers a little bit yesterday when we were looking at things like PG. This kind of stuff here. When do you buy this? Is it right now? We looked like this yesterday. We looked just like this yesterday. So it's like, I guess we're waiting. We're going to wait. Some of them, timing is not great. But there's going to be a lot of value there. And that's sort of the contrary part. We gotta go to the Win this week. What is the weather in New York this week? Fucking beautiful out right now. '81 tomorrow. This weekend's gonna be 60s and 70s. What is it in Vegas? Vegas is gonna be 97, 99. Okay, fuck that. I'm not going. Jesus. 100 degrees? You're out of your damn mind. Man. Looking good. Looking good enough. I mean, this sort of ominous candle you're getting right here looks very. That looks like that candle's about to be 3 or 4%. Some of these travel charts today, like today. That yeah. And with the way we have growth maneuvering a little bit going before earnings, the people that would take profit before earnings are the same people that would go fucking buy travel. So I'm not holding through earnings and then they go buy fucking travel. So I wouldn't put it past any of these to go put a move on for those fuck boys. So we'll see. See what these Facebook is on that support hanging out, so it's a nice spot for it. These candles mean nothing. I hate when we're in this mood. You know, like this shit here again. This I don't know. This is why we're on a longer schedule. This is not even. It's just sitting there at this level. We're on this long-term view for a reason. This static noise doesn't really matter. Still doing well in our crowd strike position. Been questioning whether this is tightening over here or not. What kind of move is coming out of here? Been a very nice trade so far. At least stands out. Again, another sideways sort of day, right? Oh, nice. They got the chainsaws out there. I have soundproof windows. You can actually hear this shit. Again, I walked out this weekend in the building that's next to my building. As soon as I walked out, it was gone. It was there the day before. I woke up and it was gone. And now, yesterday, I look and they're building a new building already. They're putting it up right now. This building that was next to me is gone one day, and now they're putting a new one up already. Can be done in like a fucking week. I don't know how big it is, though. Maybe not. E-Trader has some outside with jackhammers. Nice. I hate this noise, though. Definitely one of my downsides. In terms of the moves that we saw on, again, we talked about some of these consumer ideas like food and beverage and some of the weakness we saw, that it's coming out of a very bullish move, right? These consolidations sort of continued. This candle here, this timing, a lot of these are coming into some sort of support. So something like K here, this is a completely fine position. 62 support. Let's actually throw that in there. 62 support. It's a good spot. A nice spot. We talked about it yesterday, how we were going to be patient and wait for that to come into the low. It's a good example of a trade right there. We're involved. right? We're involved here. We make this whole trade, take profit, wait for this consolidation, and you don't know the timing, right? So you get stopped out of this trade, but then you're just patiently waiting for it to come back into a support and take the same trade. Nice long-term trade, push it. Earnings doesn't matter. Who cares? Keep pushing it through the earnings. Be very good. The other example was like Pepsi, right? This sort of move here. I mean, this is even more straightforward, right? I'm not going to throw a line in there because it's just a whole zone. That doji right there, doji right past 10 o'clock. That's pretty fucking straightforward. We're not taking trades for, to swing in a couple days. We're pushing them. So, and the timing doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Your contract is not gonna move. That's for sure. It's not gonna move. Except for the open, boys. There's not gonna be any movement from here right until close. So this is where it's important to realize what time frame we're on. I'm trying to think. I wanted us to do different things. What did I say? Addition of the Nordic growth market. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Great. What do we got going on here? Is there anyone we can make fun of? Liam Denning says Tesla killed it on Bitcoin. And also selling cars. I'm guessing that's a fucking meme and not, that's probably a joke. So that's probably a joke because I find it very 20% of their fucking profit came from selling Bitcoin. That's probably not good as being a automobile maker. Probably not good. Probably not good. if most of your profit came from selling Bitcoin, probably not good. Investors are still returning to movie that defined 2008 crisis. Margin Call. Margin Call is a great movie. Very realistic. Very realistic. We got get anything new? Who got something? Oh yeah, this thing as well. I'm gonna make a comment on this actually for Bitcoin. So like Elon, I saw him on Twitter. He's talking about it that they sold the Bitcoin to prove liquidity, whatever, as a cash alternative. You know what the fucking problem is? The government's not going to do anything if Bitcoin is just a speculated asset. If Bitcoin is just for trading, right? No one cares. Just let anyone do whatever you want, right? The problem is that all of the crypto fucking kids, they want Bitcoin to be a currency. Currencies have very different regulations. And currencies, they can't be volatile. Currencies need to be more stable so that you can actually use it to spend, right? Bitcoin is never going to be a currency. It's never going to happen. And the second it does happen is the second you're not going to be able to trade it anymore. And it's going to be regulated out of the fucking ass, right? And you shouldn't want that to be the case. And so this is again where some of these things that are coming out, I don't understand what some of the point is because all of these people are smart enough to know that if Bitcoin becomes a currency, Uncle Sam and Daddy Powell are going to be coming laying the hammer down. There's going to be no more fun. So it doesn't, I don't really, you should not want Bitcoin to become a currency. And it's not a currency. It's not. And so I keep seeing these ideas pop up from some of the smarter people. I know they're trying to fucking cause some demand to come in, but they're really begging for some currency regulation. And so as long as it's not, no one's doing anything. They'll put taxes. No one cares. The tax is just a whatever, right? Took profit. I won't have to pay 80% tax on it. No big deal. I'll trade it again. What are we doing, boys? Jesus. Nothing good on the old Bloomberger. Nothing good. Is there anything popping up here? NNDM, don't care. This shit, like, here's a good example. MVIS has bounced like up 20% one day, down 18% one day. McKee's is OCGN. I'm not touching any of this shit, right? There's no point to be in some of this shit. Like MVIS I've seen popped up. Like, not saying OCGN is not a good thing or something. I have no idea. But I mean, in terms of the volatility right now, we're doing long-term trades, right? This kind of stuff is not something I want to be a part of. This volatility, this is way too much timing that doesn't exist right now, right? Looking at some of those, and I think that's where a lot of the, let's see. Oh, there's nothing there. That's where like a lot of the losses will come from right now, is trying to time some of these things. You just need to sit in them, right? I don't know if those are going up or going down, but I know that trying to time those is impossible right now. Just impossible. Let's see if there's anyone to make fun of on TradingView. What most people get wrong with Head and Shoulders setups by Swing Trade Assassin. Okay, let's see what we usually get wrong. What the fuck is this chart, by the way? Let me make a post on TradingView called "What Most People Don't Understand About Fucking Chart Dynamics and Color and Not Having Shit Looking Charts." Okay. What do I get wrong? Okay. It's an increase in volume in price of an underlying followed by a drop. Wait, what? A Head and Shoulders pattern is defined by an increase in volume and price of an underlying followed by a drop. Guys, short this guy. He can't even fucking write a sentence. That's his definition. Then the price of this, oh my god, you know what it is? It's a kid. It's actually a kid. You can tell by the writing. Guys, I taught a year of university. I would say this is at least pre-high school. This is at least high school. That's the joke as well, is that I have actually no fucking idea. I only taught for a year, so. Then the price of the underlying goes back up, but higher than the peak it just hit, and with lower volume, again followed by a decline. The decline is stopped at or around the same price as the higher low created by the price pop, resulting in another increase with even lower volume. Holy fuck, this guy has no idea what a fucking head shoulders is at all. As I say a lot, if TA doesn't tie back to the actual actions of human people in the market, big important part is the human people. Because sometimes the people are not human. On some fundamental level, chances are great that it's bullshit. Okay. In the initial run-up, you have price action being driven by volume. What people get wrong. Okay, here's what we get wrong. Okay, this is what his title was. So here's the thesis. The number one thing that people seem to forget about Head and Shoulders is the volume component of the setup. If you have a pattern that looks like a Head and Shoulders on the price chart, but where the volume isn't correct, then you straight up do not have a pattern that's a Head and Shoulders. For example, let's say you have a stock that looks like it's forming a right shoulder to complete the setup. I don't think he helped me understand what I'm doing wrong with Head and Shoulders. First of all, he doesn't understand Head and Shoulders himself, because this is not a Head and Shoulders. This would be the opposite. This would be a Head and Shoulders top, which means price would go down, but it's not a Head and Shoulders top, so price went up. Yikes. Wait a second. He's got it backwards. He's got it upside down, guys. Oh no. Oh no. Oh god, okay. Alright, we're never trusting that guy. Who else we got? This guy got. Oh god. Wait a second, we got a Bitcoin Fibonacci breakout. This might be important. What are we looking at here? These are 4 hours. Where did he fucking start this thing? What the hell is that start? Christ. Oh my god. These fucking people. Where do they get the nerve? Oh my, what is this? What the fuck is that? This is pretty looking though. Pretty looking. The fucking banana out of his mind. Fucking throw a banana on it. Jesus Christ. How do people come? This is very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Oh my god. How did he even get the chart to look like that though? It's a 1 week chart, but how did he? Oh, it's logged, right? I mean, it's you can tell how they fucked with the dimensions a lot though. They had to really tighten the candles to get it to look like this. Because even when you put this in the log scale, look at, he started it from 1 cent. So he's using some really weird exchange. Yeah, what is BLX? It's, wait, what is that? I don't even know what that is, but yeah, he's using some weird exchange that started at 1 cent. This was from back like when Bitcoin started, that had the data from back then. He started from 1 cent. How did they even get that? Jesus Christ. People are insane. I swear to God. People find the strangest shit to go fucking post. And they just post shit nonstop that has, and all of them are different ideas that all say different things. Like this guy says Bitcoin top, and then he just told us a day later, a fucking day later, that Bitcoin is breaking out. He tells us we got a top, and then he tells us, oh yeah, okay, we have a top. And then he posts this Elliott wave pattern. And then he posts the next day, he posts the fucking thing that we just saw that shows that it's breaking out through Fibonacci's. Fibonacci breakout 2 days later. We have a top, but then we have a 4-hour chart that says we're breaking out. So obviously this is pretty helpful, guys. This is pretty good stuff. I'm so excited. Jesus Christ. Lose my mind. Really not competing with the top brass here, guys. I mean, let me be honest with you. We're not really competing with the top. Oh, that was the liquidity chart. Bitcoin liquidity index. Well, it started from 1 cent, so it's fucking helpful. An 11-year chart from 1 cent to 60,000. Logged and bananaed. Jesus. I mean, yeah, to be honest with you guys, we're not competing against the top brass, so, you know. That's why I sold my Bitcoin. I'm not losing money to these fucking freaks. Are you kidding me? I'm not losing money to them. Take my money and run. Waste it on something else. It really is interesting though. It's I don't know how much. I mean, it is important that we understand what other people are thinking so that we can trade accordingly. And we know retail makes up a, I mean, 25% of all volume now, probably 25%. Um, the problem is that with that metric, that still 90% of all trades are done through an algorithm. So they're not specifically pricing. They're letting like something else is doing the trade. And a lot of the times that's because they're trading through uh, Citadel's going to make the order for them. So they make the trade on Robinhood or something, and then they get that order gets bought by Citadel, and then Citadel goes place the trade with an algorithm. So it gets high frequency traded. And then the problem with that is that that's not going to the exchange. The thing to remember is that half of all trades are being done in dark pools still. So we don't actually see that flow. And so there's when you try to put into perspective some of the retail thinking, that's where you get caught up with trying to. It's like the example I would make is that you're trying to understand monkeys so that you can live with monkeys. Are we trying to understand monkeys to live with them, or are we just trying to understand what they do while still living like normal fucking people? Are we gonna go move into the jungle, or do we just want to do what monkeys do because monkeys are cool? Like, yeah, I mean they live on the earth, but we probably don't need to figure out how to survive with monkeys, right? Well, there's monkeys that trade in the market, but we don't need to survive with them. We can do our own fucking thing. We just know they exist, and we come from them, right? They're literally these retail people are your ancestors in the market. You used to be a monkey, now you're whoever the fuck you are, right? We can just understand what they do, but it doesn't really affect our decisions, right? I don't know how many of you, corresponding with the chimp, being like, "Hey, chimp, what you doing? We think we should do." But and that's what makes it more difficult. It's like there's different layers to it, and so then that's where maybe we just need to know that 25% of all volume is retail, but it's not how retail thinks that dictates that price. It's actually an algorithm, right? That turns into high frequency trading on a dark pool. So we know what that entails, and so we look for that, and that's usually what I do. Is I just go, okay, we're not going to see it, so I'm not going to think about it. We do here. There's not going to be much action. We can where is something like I don't know if I want to make these moves right now yet. But I'm very close to just throwing them on. I have money. Well, you see, this is a head and shoulder. See? You've got one shoulder, a head, and another shoulder. Which means price is going to come down here. That's my theory. Fucking hate construction. Hmm. Be very patient on my re-entry here. Not doing it. Not doing it. We're gonna get this fucking China move or what? Get going here. Get going. After it. Yeah, it's some of them. This is a fun chart. ICLK weekly. Be a fun one. Come on, retail. What is that move? We have the last week of April. What is this fucking thing? Brave new coin. Bitcoin liquid index. BLX. It's just the price. This guy had a 5-year chart or 10-year. What is that volume? What? What the fuck is the? What are these numbers? What is that? Minus 500,000, 500 million what? What is it? $1 billion. This is just the number of trades, I guess. What the heck? Don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's accurate. Don't think that's that. I mean, there's quite a bit of action from Google. We have a lot of points we can give up. That's for sure. I think the next big question on the on the on the mega cap side is something like Apple. It does put pressure on the other big boys to spend some money. Apple willing to spend that much money is such a fucking power play. Surprises me. $430 billion in 5 years. Such a fucking power play. Oh, God. It makes me wonder if they'll come out and just say, like, we know that they all of them want to like be buying out other companies, and they'll just, like, we've been talking about Microsoft will just buy everybody, and they all have this cash though. Google, through, like, historically has been that, right? And they just sort of do it nonchalantly. They just kind of buy up everybody, and it doesn't Google is the one that can do anything because it doesn't have to be related to anything. They literally will just buy anybody. Everyone else is kind of, Microsoft is buying around software ideas. Apple's obviously buying around hardware ideas. These are very specific things. Facebook is all social platform and about users, right? Google does whatever the fuck they want. So I'm curious if now are we gonna be like, oh, you guys aren't gonna spend any money on anything? Is that a negative? You know, comparatively now that we see Apple just randomly comes out and says they're gonna spend all this money. We know Google's working on some shit. Maybe we're gonna hear some numbers now that maybe we were not going to. That's also, I'm also curious of how much the Tim Cook and Zuckerberg fighting thing had to do with Apple announcing that early instead of like waiting. They're like, nah, we're gonna just release this shit right now. I don't really understand that whole drama anyway. You find it funny. This price is not moving at all, which is great. And curling back over. This is really quite the move. If this comes back up, I think it'll definitely confirm some of the ideas here. I already think that this moving, how much it has already, has sort of been the first confirmation that we're not getting much movement. I would say that this within 5% here is certainly not much of a move, and it's within the consolidation here already. Curious about the Neo. The Neo move coming up. Forward, we don't have to do anything with that position. Just keep pushing. This move here was, interesting. Okay. All right. Here's the question. Do we take these trades before earnings for Viacom and Discovery? We obviously want these trades. I already talked about it. This whole move to the downside. There's not a good, there's no way to time any of this, and price just came up because what price does. Earnings is tomorrow on Discovery and Viacom next week. And if you do want this trade, what time frame do you put it on? Go ahead. I would have to be able to convince myself. Even though I don't mind just chalking it up as a fun bet, I would want to convince myself. Sure, though. See this really helpful price action over here. You can really get a lot of information from intraday right now. Great day trade potential. Nice. Another green day. Another green day. Another straightforward day. Let's see what we got. Find something to do. See what we got there. Any fun? You get any fun over here? Find out where the dollar's going. On. Give me some. Give me something fun here. Whoops. We got anything good here? There's so many currencies, boys. Uh, USD. All right. USD Mexican peso is a sell by TradingView. I want to go to Mexico. Should we convert our peso? Should we convert dollars into pesos now? Or should we wait? Oh. Right now, it looks like the dollar's gaining. Looks like the dollar's gaining. Kind of looks like one of these bad boys right here. A little something like this here, you know what I'm saying? Little bit like this. Little bit like this. This here. Something like this. It looks like what it looks like right there. Yeah? That bad boy. Pretty good. Pretty good. We want to go to Mexico. The dollar's gaining on the peso. Look at those candles. It sums up everyone's feelings. No one trading. Nobody. Everyone just sitting here. Everyone just hanging out. Everyone bought. Was watching the price go up. Waiting for earnings to come in. For things to go past us. Blowing in the wind. Gained on retail stores. We lost on them yesterday. That proves the point. Chinese tickers are getting going. Maybe we can look at some of the Hang Seng action from yesterday. This doesn't really offer much. Doesn't really offer much, and it hasn't been. That's where the bet is. Doesn't really tell us much. Have tabs open? Oh, I see. Urban is at the spot where these two trend lines are converging. And should see what happens. Again, it's right where they both converge here on the daily. Didn't go in here. Feel pretty good about this. Snap is fucking moving right now. I'm watching it on my fucking screen. Options are picking up. Where are we headed? Where are we headed? Might be a good example of when I'm talking about these growth charts that have pulled back here, and then we talk about the timeline. It's like the timing is changing. So you can basically take what we looked at, throw it over here. I mean, the same price. It's gonna be just longer. Some of these are gonna make the moves, and we can use Facebook as a good example, where Facebook is doing this sort of flag pattern, but these tickers are different because they're coming out of a low. Facebook's coming out of a high, and then put the consolidation on right here. So it's consolidating at a high. These are consolidating still within this range. And so this move here is going to be a little bit less, it's going to be a little bit less aggressive through here because there's still a lot of resistance in here. This will be a good point where we'll be able to find this out because there's a lot of resistance right here on snap, for instance. And so most of the time, probability wise, this is going to take a lot longer. It's going to take this trend line right here to move, right? It's not going to immediately come back up here. Well, right now we're going to find out because this is moving pretty quick. Looks like it wants to break through this. And it wants to catch back up here. It wants to get back here right now. Which, again, that's what we were looking for. But then we had this pullback, right? When we look at the difference between these, Facebook did this at the high. And it should just continue in that trend. This is looking, it's pretty damn bullish right there. Looks like it's gone. Let's go. Put the points on right now. Let's get our points. Let's get our social media boys getting going. How many points is be another boy? Another 11% on top of what we already got. 14% day on Snap. A 14% day on Snap. Jesus Christ. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I'd say maybe a 10%, 10% probability. Maybe more than that. 20%. It's breaking through that resistance, so it actually is probably just gonna get there. It probably comes right back to that trend line right now. Which is kind of fucking scary because some of these other charts, they're doing the same thing. Just sitting there. That would mean Facebook's going to get going right now. Let's see. More likely it gets held by the resistance, right? Much more likely. Because that would mean everything is about to get going. I think it would be a one-off. No one's doing that on Snap. This is completely normal trading right there. Normal spread. We kind of had this over here. See what we get. I do like the idea of looking at it through this lens that you get a resistance and a support in here. Keep those ideas in mind. A VXRT continues. We're now at 30%. Just getting there. Let's get up to the target today first, and then we'll talk about where we're going from there. Maybe $25. $25 would be what? 25 is a 300% gain. Not bad. Good. Pretty good. Uh, gross, guys. That's just gross. That's fucked up. Fucked up. Pretty fucked up. Goddamn vaccine. Tell you. When I said we were doing a super cycle in commodities, yeah, disgusting, disgusting. Dollar's gonna fall so much. Fuck. Your yield is up. Look at this chart. The 2 year is the yield the Fed is going to react to the most, I think. Going into their meeting right now. So they're meeting right now. They did 0. Interesting. Tomorrow's gonna be a fun day. Tomorrow, I would love to be surprised by the Fed. It doesn't seem like anyone's expecting much of anything or caring. Could definitely get some reaction if they do say something. Not getting anything in the bond market from 2-year yield is just kind of, it's not moving, and it's purposely not moving. So the 10 year has been, the yield's obviously been going up, and that's what we've been looking at. And we've been talking about the 10-year yield going up, and the Fed keeps saying, no, that's good. They keep saying, no, it's good. That's good. That proves that things are happening. That's because it's the 2-year that they're watching. And if the 2-year yield doesn't go up, then they don't give a shit. Not going to move. Doesn't look like it's doing anything, though. Yeah, yeah. Fuck. Fucking A. It's hard to look at these fucking charts, to be honest with you. EXRT, we're now at 40%. We actually get to the midpoint of my target. Good job. What is that, a vaccine or something? I think what I'm going to do, it seems, so I was talking about this before, and I'm going to go take a break for lunch. Talking about this before, that our bet here, we took this short-term trade, and then what we did was transitioned it into a longer term because no one's really betting on the market to continue on this trend, right? And that's what we're betting on. But we're not betting specifically for this outcome right here. But that's quite literally the trend. This is the trend we're on. Just putting it from this where we are right now. This is what it would look like. It's very hard to look at this chart and see that happening. I mean, no one's doing it because no one's betting on it. I did on the screen just so you could see that I was gonna be looking. The reality is that no one's betting on that happening. There's no one. Zero people. No one even has it as a possibility. It's very cheap to go buy this. Right now we're betting on this trend by being long term. If we bet short term right now on this trend right here continuing, which we're betting on this trend to continue, but not this sharp and this many points. It would be very cheap. Very cheap. Even buying 425 SPY calls for May are cheap. This is 2% out. Those were cheap. 425 by, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. By buying 430, that's 3%. 3% in the next month, less than a month, 3 weeks, is $1. Cost $1. Now, you would need price to do much better than that, right? You would need price to do better than that. But that's the trend we've been on. I'm going to go buy some of those. I'm going to buy some of those. Oops. I'm going to buy some of those. 425 to 430. I'm going to buy some of those for May month. You're talking about 100%. 100% in 3 less than, I mean, again, we're not talking about holding it for that long. But a one-way street, as if earnings don't matter, which I don't think they do. So why don't I just add some? I have my long-term trades. I can just chill, hang out, but I might as well go throw these short terms on. Might as well. Because again, it doesn't seem like the Fed is in a place that it's going to, I think that every single thing that's possible, even if there was a surprise, is actually good for the equity market. The dollar is gonna fucking plummet. I think the dollar is just, it's gonna just keep fucking falling. Commodities are just exploding still. We have major supply problems. Major supply problems. How things work with the crypto space. If the dollar keeps going down, these will go up. No matter what. there is that factor. So I'm gonna put some more risky bets on. Or riskier bets. And by putting it on the ETF, it's not as risky anyway. Putting it on with SPY calls, I'm not going to use Qs because Qs get a little bit too much exposure to tech earnings, which again, you could just have a 5% gap down, but that's actually good for the long-term trade. So I don't want to counteract that because then I'm kind of splitting the pot a little bit. Not that SPY is not completely dictated by tech prices, but a little bit more. All right, folks, take a break for lunch. Not much to do here today. Just watching, hanging out. There has, again, all the actions right at open, and then if nothing changes from open, that's it. You just kind of hang out for the day. For close, um, we'll see if anything changed, and then we will see what happens with earnings in after hours. Mega caps are pretty quick on hitting us with the stuff, so you just take like 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll be able to see those, and we'll see how things interacted, and then we'll see how that leads us into tomorrow with FOMC, and then with the rest of earnings coming in. I mean, things are looking pretty damn good, and yeah, I'm gonna be putting some little bit more risk on. Not that I'm already completely in and have my long term, but I'm gonna go put the short term on. I will see you guys this afternoon. A nice lazy day, right? That's how you want it. No negative surprises. So see you guys in a little bit.